Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and we're looking at another fixed blade today. This is the Oerla OLF 1008. This is the first fixed blade from this company that I'm reviewing. I've got another one that I'll review probably in March or April. I just have so many different knives to review that I don't want to do all the same brands all in a row. I like spacing it out a little bit. 420 HC stainless steel for this blade, G10 handle scales. It comes with a Kydex sheath. This is a decent, probably secondary survival carry kind of multi-purpose style knife. Bit of a drop point, full flat grind. It's a reasonable knife that comes in at under 30 US dollars. Actually, well under 30 US dollars. The biggest con of this knife is it's only available in the United States of America. There is a seller on Amazon.ca who is buying Oerla knives and then posting them on Amazon.ca at exorbitant increases, like 5 times the cost that they sell for in the United States. So I don't recommend Canadians to go on Amazon.com to get these, Amazon.ca, I should say. If you're still interested in this, stick around. The full review's coming right now. Let's take a look at the sheath first. It's a Kydex sheath. Actually, I think it's probably a Kydex knockoff, a Chinese version of Kydex, but it's not bad. It's got good retention. It's shaped well. It's got a, Tech Lock-ish knockoff kind of clip, adjustable tabs for your belt, so you can have a very narrow belt if you want to, but a 1.5 inch belt easily fits in here. I think a 2-inch belt can even fit in here. Yeah, you can have a 2-inch belt in here just by removing these tabs that fit in there. So those tabs, you just adjust them for your belt. The retention is with these squeezable clips here, and an extra retention is this. And then once this is next to your body, it's unlikely that that's going to come up, because if we get the light in here just right, it's hard to see when you got so many things that are just black. But this sticks out and it has to push into your body and push this away, so chances are very high that that's going to stay. But as you can see, it already came apart, or it bent. There we go, snapped it back in. So this piece is a very low cost retention. You can even see, look at back here where the light is. This tab, the arm is quite a bit longer than on that side. So these are very cheaply made, but they do the job. And since it's a standard size, you could put on something better if you wanted to. You can put on all kinds of stuff, different kind of sheath clips if you want to. You don't have to rely on this one. There's no drain hole. Easy to add one, no problem at all with the drill. So yeah, that's an easy thing to do. Let's take a look at the retention now. Clips in. It's quiet. So yeah, it holds well, and just use that spot. Bandit's barking away. I gotta get and see what he's doing first. So yeah, my dog distracted me for a second there. I think I've said all that I need to say about this sheath. It's decent, it's functional, it holds well, and it's quiet. Put that over on the top of the screen. We've got 420 HC stainless steel on the blade here. Rockwell hardness on this is around 57, give or take, if they heat treated it to, the higher end of what 420 can be done at. They do say on their website that they use cryogenic heat treat, so if that's true, that's very good. And so far, I've got no reason to doubt what they say. Like I said, this one's a full flat grind, drop point. It's a thick chunk of steel. We've got blocky jimping on the spine there, and you can see where they used probably a water jet to cut these pieces out. You can see some lines there for how it was cut out. The bevels have been CNC 3D milled, which saves an awful lot of time having machines do it. I can tell because of, if I take a very close look, you can see very perfect lines going up and down on here, and they're totally equally spaced apart, which wouldn't happen by grinding it on a belt. We've got G10 for the handle scales. They do swell just a little bit in the middle here, and so they're not narrow, but they're thicker right here than they are at either end. But it's a very, very slight swell, not much at all. They are nicely rounded. They've got a radius to them. So they're very comfortable in hand. I've had no issues at all with these. We've got 3mm hex, so you can take these apart if you want to, and I'll do that a little bit later. At the end here, we've got the G10s removed, so we've got a recessed lanyard hole if you want to use that, or we've got a hammering tool down here. Glass breaker, if you're camping and you've got non-shelled nuts, you can smash open some nuts. Maybe you need to break some rocks, create your own flint or something. Whatever fun things you want to do, smacking things, that is quite nice right there. Back to the blade a little bit. Nice belly here, and a very tiny sharpener's choil. It's functional. I wish it was just a little bit bigger. And then we've got a little bit of a guard here. And it's comfortable in just about any kind of grip except for this reverse pull grip. It's not sure where I should put my thumb. Let's turn it around so you can see this way. I can do a fist grip on it like this and use it fairly well. And that's about the only way to use it as a pull grip. Just about any other grip, like a fist grip or a saber grip, those things work just fine. My hands are just within to the extra large range, and I think somebody with men's medium hands and smaller, you might find this a little bit too thick, a little bit too chunky. I can't say that for certain. And now during COVID days, it's really hard to get other guys to come over and talk knives and tell me how they feel if they're grabbing the handles on different knives to check for comfort and things. So I think men's large and men's extra large, as long as you're not really, really large, are going to find this knife very comfortable in hand. And I did some cutting, some extended cutting, and it works okay. One of the things about this knife is it's very thick behind the grind. Thankfully, we've got a full flat grind that's fairly high, so it did okay. Another really good thing is this tip here is quite strong. We maintain most of the thickness up to about here, and then that last, well, maybe closer to a third of the blade, we start that distal taper, but it's still fairly thick behind the tip. So it's a very durable tip, and it's quite good as a precision tip. So to start things, to opening them and things, that worked quite well. The sharpening grind on here, not terribly well done, but not bad either. And it's easy enough to resharpen this steel, and I could easily do that. 420 is not that hard to sharpen, even in the field. 420 HC, a little bit harder than 420, but I meant 420 HC is not terribly hard to sharpen in the field. Let's go over all of the sizes and dimensions and that kind of stuff, and this will be on the screen while I'm doing that. The weight of this knife first. The weight of this thing is 212 grams, 7.5 ounces. Yeah, she's got a little bit of weight to it. The sheath is about 69 grams, which is 2.45 ounces. So together, 281 grams or 9.9 ounces. So just under 10 ounces for this system. A little bit heavier than I'd prefer. But it's okay if you're looking for something that's really stocky. The measurements now. The sharpness from the factory, 145 bests. And then I just stropped it and brought it down to below 100. Going over my strop 5 times on either side brought it down to under 100, so not bad. a steel that strops quite well. The cutting edge length, 95.5 millimeters, 3.76 inches. The blade length tip to the closest spot on the G10, 96.7 millimeters, 3.807 inches. The thickness of the steel here, it is 4.83 millimeters, which is 0.19 inches. So almost a fifth of an inch thick. The blade depth, that's this measurement, 30 millimeters exactly right here, just at the heel of the blade. That is 1.181 inches. The thickness behind the grind measured, actually I measured it about 1.5 inches, close to where this belly ends, right about there. 0.77 millimeters thick. That's 30.5 thousandths of an inch. So yeah, I'd prefer it to be 20. And it's like 50% thicker than I'd like it to be. And every single time you sharpen this knife, or I sharpen this knife, whoever does it, it's going to get thicker behind the grind every single time. So I wish they would have made this thinner to start with. Now for the handles, the handle length, just the G10, is 97.2 millimeters, 3.8265 inches. The thickness of the handle, like I said, it's got a swell in it, so at the thickest part right here in the middle, 18.67 millimeters, 0.735 of an inch. The handle depth, its biggest right back here, 33.77 millimeters, 1.33 inches. The grip in here, this is sort of a rougher number because where do you draw the line on where the grip goes, right? It's just a little bit less than 9.5 or 3 3/4 inches, 9.5 centimeters or 3 3/4 inches. Total length of this knife from the tip to the very end of this glass breaker, 20.45 centimeters, 8.0512 inches. So the specs that they've got online for this thing are pretty close to what my experience is when I measured them. So there you go. One thing I didn't talk about, I got to bring this back, the grind angles. Okay, the grind angles. On this side, down here at the heel, it's around 17.7. It's a little bit worse at the last, 1/4 of an inch, but right about where my finger is, 17.7 degrees. And then right about here, it was 13.9 degrees. And most of it here is about 11.8 degrees. Of course, a smooth transition along that. On this side, right about here, the spot where you cut the most, 13.3 degrees. A little bit less here, about 12 degrees there. And then most of this section here, or actually about this section here, between my fingers was about 16.5 degrees. So whoever was sharpening this was really doing a lot of this kind of motion as they went across the stone or the belt to sharpen it. But easy to sharpen just well. I would put this thing at, 420 high carbon. I'd probably suggest 18 to 20 degrees per side is a much more durable sharpness. If you make it too shallow, the edge just can't handle it and it'll start chipping. Or it'll just get dull a whole lot quicker. So yeah, here's the knife. What do you think of this thing? Oh wait, I told you I was going to take it apart. So let me go get my hex tool and take this thing apart and show you what's underneath the handle. But before I do that, I'll probably forget if I don't, the balance point on this knife. There's the balance point. I'm assuming there's some skeletonizing in here, but if there isn't, if they would have done skeletonizing or more skeletonizing, they could bring it to here, and that's where I would prefer the balance point to be. But it's very light on the blade because the weight is back here in your hand. You really do need a 3 millimeter because an 1/8 is too big. It doesn't fit in there. And 7/64, which is the next common size down, is too small. You'll strip it out pretty easily because it moves a long ways. So 3 millimeter is what you need. Okay, I guess the screws on this side. I did start to loosen this just off camera a little bit, but I didn't open it up all the way. There's definitely oil in there, and there's no skeletonizing. So yeah, they should have, in my opinion, taken some of the metal out of there to make it a bit lighter. That would put your balance point in a better spot. And when the metal was soft, it would have been really easy for them to cut out a little bit right there. But they didn't. So we've got these brass plug and screws in from either side. So not a terrible design for holding it together, but it is a little bit inferior to what it could be. But remember, this is a $27 knife. This could spin along, but I think that's why the sides of those brass posts, or they might be bronze or brass, why they're knurled, well, not knurled, but why they've got the 3D texture on the outside is to stop them from spinning. They bind up a little bit. You can even see this hole here is not round. It's a little bit elongated. And they probably had to just take a little bit of metal off of there to fit this in just right, because it was a little off center. You can't tell from the outside, so it's not that big a deal. Yeah, it doesn't try to spin at all. It just grabs and stays put. So yeah, no problem. There's no free spinning issue with this at all. One other thing that you may not have noticed is there's some kind of coating on here. I don't know what it is. They don't tell us what it is. Yeah, here on this side, maybe if the light's just right. There's a little bit, some scratch marks here for when I was cutting stuff. Sort of in both directions here, actually. It's actually a fairly hard coating because it's not worse than it is. It could have been worse. So yeah, what do you think of this knife? I like the sheath, just needs a drain hole. The knife, a little bit too heavy. They could have made it a bit lighter. Now that this has all been hardened, it'd be really hard to drill through that. Not impossible, but so you could make it lighter. Just I wish they would have done that at the factory. I did notice one other thing in their notes. They said that these screws are 420 stainless steel with a black coating on them, so they shouldn't rust, which is a good thing. Glad they didn't cheap out and just use carbon steel there. It's a decent knife, and for the price, I don't see a good reason to not recommend it. Just as long as you're aware of all the details, make your own choice, and I think it's a reasonable backup kind of knife. But I don't think it's a good primary knife. If I was stuck in a survival situation, I'd want something other than this. But if this is what I had, I think I could do a fair bit of stuff with it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you to everyone who likes, shares, comments, subscribes, all those things. They really do help. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.